As we've heard, we received several memoranda. In the literature review, this task force checked out all literature available about sand harvesting, both locally and internationally. Just to highlight a few, we checked what the Constitution of Kenya says, we checked the chemical laws 1999, we checked the Mining Act 2016, we checked National Sand Harvesting Guidelines 207, we checked the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change, the Rio Earth Summit 1992, Paris Climate Conference 2015, the African Union's Agenda 2063, and of course, many others which we cannot list here. One of the things that came out from the literature review was on the issue of ownership of sand. This sand we are discussing, who owns it? And from our constitution, and even under the Mining Act 2016, sand is defined as a constitutional mineral together with other minerals and mineral oils. And in Article 62(1)(f), all minerals and mineral oils are defined as public land, meaning sand is defined as public land. And the public land is vested in the state. When you get that word state in the Constitution, it will refer to both national and the county governments. Therefore, sand is held in trust by the state, and this matter, sand is held in trust by the county government. So in Kenya, sand harvesting and utilization legislations this is what we derive from the literature review, that sand harvesting and utilization legislations are fragmented, they are outdated and not aligned to the Constitution of Kenya 2010, especially on matters of devolution and on matters of enforcement, who is responsible for what. Some of the guidelines available, like 2007, came before the 2010 Constitution. So when you refer to a 007 guideline using a 2010 Constitution, of course, they cannot match. The county government of Kitui doesn't have own legislation to govern sand harvesting, making it difficult to enforce such laws for sustainable sand harvesting and utilization. Of course, the governor has already alluded to that, but sometimes you feel like a barking dog that has no teeth. You want to do something, but you can't do it. And apparently, the thieves who steal our resources seem to know that there is nothing much you can do. So, on public participation, which is alluded in the Constitution as a key step towards developing any policy, and as the chair already alluded, we did a public participation. Of course, we had a special on that given by the appointing authority, who seems to have done a lot of groundwork to prepare for this task force. We were to organize one public participation forum per river basin to seek community and stakeholder input on their roles pertaining to sand harvesting management, including identification of sand sites, and environmental protection and conservation. So in line with that, we did public participation forums in 8 sub-counties. Of course, there is 8 and 8 there in Kitui, on date 8th and 9th of June 2023, guided by, we were doing public participation in 4 sub-counties each day, guided by teams, of course, 4 teams of the task force members. So all public engagements were very good and healthy, and maybe I take this opportunity to thank all those who participated, including members of the county assembly in their respective areas who attended our gatherings and made their contributions, and others who followed us in where we were working from and gave their opinions. A total of 2,107 members of the public participated and made their contributions. So we received some inputs from the public participation, which we have already processed, and the views are already reflected in the different documents we are going to hand over today. But the opinions through the plenary and checklist contributions from the 80 some counties, which went on very well. We have also received some 16 memoranda physically received and also via the Taskforce email address, which we had provided to the public. We also had an opportunity to engage with the 26 civil society organizations and CBOs that had been convened and Resource Conflict Institute Reconcile, who also wanted to contribute to the standard harvesting and management discussion. I think when the governor announced this task force, there was a lot of public interest on the matter, and various organizations started coming together to want also to give their contribution. We also received opinions from the members of the County Assembly. Some came to their regions and participated during the open forums, and during the plenary showed their support for what we were doing and also what the governor is doing. We have also received input from the Kitui County departments. We have written to different ministries so that they make their contributions. I will just highlight a few cross-cutting issues that came out of that and which have already been factored in the development of our policy and bill. The public said that there is need to take immediate measures to conserve and protect our rivers from over-exploitation of the sand resource. This was overwhelmingly voiced by everybody. From where we went, people are feeling that it is an urgent matter to take conservative and protective measures to save what is remaining. There is frustration in previous attempts to seek intervention from different state offices, including NEMA, Kenya Police, county government officials, county commissioners, chiefs, among others. The public felt that it is not clear who is responsible for what. So even when you report this matter, you don't know who is supposed to do what, even when things are going bad. I think you have pushed me ahead. Yeah. According to the public, there is opaqueness. You know that word. There is opaqueness in the existing laws, which has made it impossible for community members to hold a specific office responsible for the consequences being witnessed as a result of continued damage of their rivers. So you can move on. So it was clear that participants were not informed of the provisions in law. This also came out very clearly, that participants are not very clear on the law on sand and riparian land ownership. And it was the observation of this task force that this is a sensitive issue that requires community sensitization to avert conflicts in the future. People feel if I'm a riparian, hapo ni kwangu. If I am close to the river, nobody else should come there. And you could feel it on the ground that people feel that whatever is happening is infringing on some things they think they are theirs, but definitely are public. Participants welcome the idea of a well-regulated licensing regime to guide environmental conservation and also to guide on fees and sales payments to the county government of Kitui. That was very welcome, but there needs to be a licensing regime that it clearly stipulates how environment should be conserved and how revenue should be generated if this resource has to be used. They propose that a specific percentage of the revenue collected should be plowed back into the local community projects and the community social responsibility programs. So the management of sand harvesting sites should be bestowed to locally organized groups and cooperatives. That came out very clearly, that people felt if we are the custodians, of course the government holds the public property in trust, but communities that are close to these resources feel that they need to be involved at local level to manage the sand harvesting, so that somebody does not come from wherever and start managing local resources on behalf of others, because there was that desperation that even as you complain, it is not your people benefiting or involved. So all sand-related activities shall take place between 6 and 6 p.m., 6 a.m. and 6 p.m. That is, no transporter will be allowed to collect load or transport sand after 6 p.m. One participant somewhere once said that there are very few things that happen at night which are good. Of course, few. So when you see things happening at night, most of them are not good. So of course, a part of methodology which I just need to pass, as the chair has alluded, we had familiarization visits on the sites. We visited several sites. We chose among the over-harvested and degraded areas and also the currently conserved sites. Currently, the over-harvested areas are Tiva and Enziu, Kivu River, and we had our experiences there, which will come out during the reading of the policy. We also went to Dua and also Kiroboko. Kiroboko, harvesting is not taking place, but conservation has started bearing fruit. We had learning visits to Makueni, and I just...
The start is moving too fast.
Yes.
I don't know whether he doesn't want us to see it.
Yeah. Okay.
You were saying Kilofogo, the other one below is what?
Yeah. That was on familiarization visits. Of course, the purposes were highlighted there. All right. We needed to familiarize ourselves with what is happening currently in the sites. We also wanted to assess the impact of sand harvesting in those places. We wanted to assess the extent of environmental degradation, and the pre-test questionnaire was developed on the checklist. That is why we went to the site. Among some members in our task force who are not aware when we say sand is being harvested, because they come from areas where it is not harvested. So we felt we need to go around all of us so that we talk from the same page. On learning visits, I've said we chose Makueni because Makueni has many similarities to Kitui, especially on our previous experiences with our regulated sand harvesting. We know Makueni went through some hard times, sometimes in the past. We had stories in the news of people even killing themselves in the rivers, fighting over the source, and even trying to stop cartels. And therefore, we also were aware they had come up with a regulatory framework, which when we went there, we found it was true that they had already enacted by 2015 the Makueni County Sand Conservation Utilization Act, which established the Makueni County Sand Conservation and Utilization Authority, already learning there. There are details of what we learned there, but some of the key learning lessons we learned from Makueni was that community engagement and participation in both the policy and implementation is very key. You cannot develop this resource law without involving the community. There were experiences whereby they shared how they have suffered to bring to implementation some of the things that are in their laws, because initially they did not properly involve the community in designing the laws. Community involvement in environmental protection, conservation, and rehabilitation is very key. We saw experiences in Makueni whereby even sand dams are constructed with liaison between the government, the contractors, and the community, where the community participates in even offering the labor for some pay, so that they own the conservation effort. Communities are the ones who initiate the process of designation of sites for sand harvesting, and there is a very clear process. All enforcement actors have to collaborate for success. In Makueni, we learned that despite having the authority and despite having a very elaborate law, there are still challenges with the way the enforcement is done. The issue here is collaboration. There are so many enforcement forces, agents that should participate in protecting what the county has. We also learned that this authority is yet to be financially sustainable, since it focuses on conservation only. I think that is missing. It focuses on conservation. It's not more about sand selling, but conserving. Because of that, the whole system does not support itself financially. As I start exiting, as I've said, there are so many things we learned. I cannot narrate all of them. But this task force did some recommendations, and especially on an aspect of institutional framework. The task force drafted a policy that recommends a robust institutional and regulatory framework of the county sand harvesting and management sector. It is a subsector actually, to ensure a maker-checker approvals at all levels, from the local community to the county sand committee. Of course, I will highlight that institutional framework, but a key principle on that framework is to make sure that decisions on sand harvesting are made collaboratively between the community and other levels of leadership that should be involved. A make-a-checker principle here means the person who makes a decision, for example, the person who decides to designate a place for sand site, is not the one who is going to approve that decision. And as well, the person who is approving that decision is not the one initiating that decision. So that if a community decides that we want this place designated for sand harvesting, it has to subject that decision to somebody else to approve. And there are rules that needs to be observed before that approval is done. This is crucial for realization of the sector's full economic potential. That balance is between sustainable sand harvesting while addressing the associated social and environmental concerns. So that the people who are on the ground, if they raise concerns and they initiate a decision to reverse, for example, a designation, that balance needs to be, that decisions need to be effected by approval because of the set guidelines. The institutional framework proposed a four-tier kind of institutions that should oversee this process. At the directorate level, the Directorate of Natural and Mineral Resources to be at the apex. Of course, working with Akitui County Sand Harvesting and the Management Committee. The policy will highlight how that could be constituted in the time allows. And also a basin-based cooperative societies level that will manage the basins. And lower at that institutional framework is a site-based community sand group. The local community groups would be institutionalized through our laws to make sure that they are special vehicles in this sand value chain. These are the groups that should replace the cartels and the brokers and the sand dealers when they are properly equipped and when they are properly managed. Of course, that's a diagram. It's an diagram, yeah. To just try to explain what I am saying. The governor, big and apex, of course, you know, matters natural resources. The backstops with the president of the county, who is the governor, and then the executive committee member who oversees a department, two departments, one in charge of energy and natural resources, and another one in charge of environment and climate change. That red color, is it red or brown? The ladies who are here. It shows that that line, that will show that chain of organogram. From the Department of Energy, there is the Directorate of Natural and Mineral Resources, and then the County Sand Management Committee, and several basin-based cooperative societies. And maybe you check the next organogram so that you see the specific value, whatever, that one, yeah. That clearly shows we are envisaging 5 basins where there will be 5 cooperative societies. You know, when the bill will be presenting, will highlight on how those cooperatives will be formulated and entrenched in our laws so that they become legal entities to manage at the basin level. And we have already mapped out 5 basins. Basins here describing rivers that drain in the same direction in a particular section of our county. The Nzitu, the Tia, the Nziu, Teva, and the Tua are key basins in our county. Of course, those basins belong to other wider basins, the Adi Basin and the Tana Basin. But we are saying there will be cooperative movements that will be organized and institutionalized within those basins to manage sand harvesting and conservation matters within those catchment areas. And below every basin will be several site-based community sand groups which will be formulated following a very strict guideline and an elaborate procedure that will make sure that they are empowered and trained to understand their mandate on conservation as they utilize the sand resource. So basically that's a snapshot of the institution proposed. There are details, of course, which will be made available. You can move on. Of course, I've just alluded to that. There is the river basin model which we were given actually the TUR to follow, and which was even guiding the public participations. In order to come up with a model that suits Kitui County, the task force came up with the river basin model. And why river basins? Instead of looking at our county in terms of the current administrative geographies, when we are addressing issues, sand and the rivers, we decided to have the catchment areas as the areas of concern, because one catchment will affect one community, which may not be necessarily within the same sub-county or county, or rather sub-county or ward, or even villages. So we were avoiding balkanization of the county. You think of a scenario like somebody in Tiba who comes from Kitui West, shares Tiba with another person from Kitui Central. So if you go by sub-counties and you say they make decisions, they may not come together because they have to follow their administrative units. So a basin is more elaborate because you can combine different people who share a river resource together to make decisions as a basin. And therefore, when you are making cooperative movements, you are not confined within sub-counties or within villages. So we have come up with those 5 basins. They are very much well detailed and mapped, showing all the rivers involved.
Challenges such as drying of rivers. Where our people get water from, those rivers are drying up. And the chair also said that we witnessed our moms, our sisters walking together with their donkeys down the stream. Actually, we walked several kilometers with a lady with the donkeys looking for a place they can get water from. It is really shocking if you can reach there. I will show a picture of what we saw on the ground. Receding of water tables. There are samples which were done by county government. We also have boreholes. But these boreholes accumulate water slowly from the water captured by sand. So when the water just runs across on a dry river bed, we don't expect recharging to take place. So it's a grave situation. We also have unclean water. You see, trucks are being driven on the sand, on the rivers, even where people are fetching sand. In some instance, we found a lady fetching sand, and the truck was also beside there. You can imagine the diesel, the oil, and hiyo viatu yote inakanyanga hiyo maji na tunaendelea kutumia. In fact, the worst situation is those rubber sheds we find on the sand. It was unfortunate. We did not think it was the best thing to have in our county. So we have unclean water, damaged river banks. The river banks are actually collapsing because the channel has been swept clean of sand. So this one was witnessed especially in Itiba and Kivu. And we now want to say that the benefits of our well-managed sand value chain in our rivers far outweighs the disadvantages. In one of the reportings we did in the meeting in the last 2 weeks, we were able to take stock, we were able to regulate sand, how much it would bring to our people. And therefore, the benefits will be massive if we are going to regulate our sand, because the same sand can be used to undertake conservation of our riverbeds. So there is need for formulation of a comprehensive policy to provide guidance on environmental protection, conservation, restoration of the depleted river ecosystems. What we are saying here is that our priority is not sand harvesting. Our priority is not selling sand. Our priority as a county should be protection of the river ecosystem, followed by conservation of whatever has been destroyed, restoration of whatever has been destroyed. So that is the situation. This is the river where there used to be sand. You can remember if you come from that side, this is Kivu River. And the Kivu River here, the base where there used to be sand, imetokea matope. And because the recent rain, sand ingine haikukuja, then you will find there that it is bare soil which has been badly eroded. On the side of the river, the walls are collapsing. The river banks are actually collapsing. So we are expecting then in the next one season, you know, there will be a lot of sweeping away of that soil which will have fallen there, widening the river channel. Very grave situation. Let's go forward. Therefore, we looked at what are the legal frameworks that can give us at least some grounding as Kitui County citizens to bring order into this subsector. Article 42 of the Constitution in the Bill of Rights stipulates that every person has a right to clean and healthy environment. The Constitution recognizes the right of every individual to clean and healthy environment, which includes the right to have the environment protected. It also stipulates that a person has a right to conserve the environment, to have future generations, present and future generations, benefiting from the same. And actually it says other measures that should be taken, particularly those contemplated in Article 69. Then we also brought to focus Article 69, 1A and G. That mandates the state, and we say the state includes county and national government, to ensure sustainable conservation, exploitation, utilization, and management of the environmental and natural resources. Sand is a natural resource at that. And ensure equitable sharing of the accruing benefits. Whatever is happening today there is no equitability in sharing of resources. It's either one person is benefiting and the others are chasing him around. So I think we don't have that kind of equitability. And then Article 69 therefore is giving us some more strength to ensure sustainability. In doing so, the state is obliged to ensure that it eliminates processes and activities that are likely to endanger the environment. The activities being undertaken in our rivers are definitely, very clearly endangering the environment, while utilizing natural resources for the benefit of the people of Kenya. So I think we have those groundings that are giving us an opportunity to legislate. Further, according to Article 185, 1, 2, and 4A, it talks about the power of county assemblies to legislate. When we sit here as the county executive, we are preparing this documentation so that we can take them to county assembly to work on them or to put them into law. So there is a power of the county assembly to make laws that will enable county government to perform its powers and functions. So if there is a function the county government is supposed to do in line with the 4th schedule, then the county assembly has a very big window to legislate that. Of course, we can give direction by drafting. And the 4A also says that the same county assemblies may receive and approve plans. Mheshimiwa nimekuona hapa. You may receive and approve plans and policies for management and exploitation of the county natural resources. So we are actually having very good reason to do what we are doing today. If we go further, the Kitui Vision for Economic Transformation 2025, in this planning document, the county government of Kitui, and it was His Excellency the Governor Dr. Julius Malombe at that time, committed to put in place policy and regulatory frameworks for, it is written, charcoal and sand, and promote sustainable sand harvesting. We have put there charcoal in brackets because our concern is the sand. But then KVEST also had a vision to put in place a policy and a regulatory frameworks. In his manifesto, His Excellency the Governor promised to construct 2,400 sand dams across the county, ensure development of sustainable sand harvesting management policy, and facilitate training and community sensitization on matters natural resource and environment, and also support programs aimed at empowering residents through inclusion and participation of decision making on matters that impact their lives. My predecessor just said that we were able to conduct public participation. We gave our people an opportunity to say, how is it that they want the sand resource managed in the county? And they gave us very important information, where they gave us quite useful input. And therefore we're saying, do we have a reason to have a policy rationale? Go back. My predecessors also said that the frameworks, legal and policy frameworks that are in place, especially national government frameworks, are fragmented. Kamoja huku, ingine huku, another on the other side. So they're not like consolidated. They are outdated because we have one which was done in 2003, another one was done 2007, and those are the ones which we are still using up to today. And you see, that time we used to talk about DDC, the District Commission and all that. So what are we saying? We are saying they are outdated and they need to be matched with the Constitution 2010. There is also lack of county legislative frameworks on managing natural resources. We also say there was a lack of clear institutional framework and weak enforcement mechanisms are in place. There is that absence of clear guidelines for effective conservation and rehabilitation of river ecosystems. Lack of measures for equitable sharing of accrued benefits from sand value chain. So this justifies the need for us to have this policy. It is coming in place to fix those gaps that we just mentioned. So the policy goal going forward is that the overall policy goal here is to ensure environmental protection, environmental conservation, and rehabilitation. We are looking forward to having sustainable sand utilization, ensuring transgenerational equity, and the equitable share of accrued benefits through appropriate regulation. The guiding principles are, we have around 6 guiding principles. We want to just be guided by environmental protection, conservation, and restoration, sustainable utilization of sand resource, equitable share of accruing benefits, effective enforcement and compliance, inclusive community participation, and mainstreaming of gender and social inclusion in running the subsector. The policy objectives are here listed to provide a legal and institutional framework for sustainable management of sand value chain. That first objective, putting in place a legal framework, the Taskforce has already done that. We have the bill in place. And the second one is to provide a mechanism for community involvement in environmental protection, conservation, and restoration. This one we have also tried to answer by creating structures which involve the community right from the site. At the bottom we will have site-based community groups. Then there will be cooperatives which are also basin-based. There are also structures which are involving the community. The third objective is to establish mechanisms for sustainable sand harvesting, utilization and management of the resource. That one has been done through the bill. To provide a framework for equitable sharing of sand value chain, benefits between the county government and the communities in the sand basins. Indeed, in this objective, the task force was able to propose a kind of plowback mechanism for benefits accruing from sand, revenue from sand, so that it benefits the same community from where the sand is being harvested. So there is that legislated. Then we also considered mainstreaming of gender equity and the social inclusion in the sand value chain. Those are the ones. The current situation is that we have MCAM currently, which provides for establishment of legal institutions for management of the environment. Then there is also National Sand Harvesting Guidelines of 2007. Those are the regulations that we are supposed to be using to kind of regulate sand harvesting in every county. Then the demand for Kitui sand is primarily also driven by construction and infrastructure sectors. Those are the situational analysis points that are picked out so that we can see. Kitui County, when we hear the national government talking about affordable housing, when we hear them talking about construction of mega projects, they are looking at that sand. And therefore we need to put in place mechanisms so that our people will also get benefit even as that sand gets used to undertake those also important projects.